So this knife here is a knife I've made. It's the first ever knife I've made, and for a first attempt it turned out fairly good for what I can see anyway. I'm happy with the knife, but it's not finished at all. There's a lot of work to do on the handle here. It's fairly dirty and rough, and it has to be sanded with some fine sandpaper, and then put a bit of oil on it to protect it and make it look really nice. And here, this all has to be polished up with a finer sandpaper. See a lot of the scratch marks still there from the rougher sandpapers. You see it there. And bevel here on the blade, they have to be properly finished and sharpened properly. It's fairly sharp, but it's nowhere near as good as it should be. But there's a lot of work still to do on this, but this is just as far as I am now. This is taking me a long time because I don't have any belt sanders or anything like that. I have to do it all with just by hand with, say, a block. Just put it on it and sanding away with some finer sandpaper there. Go a lot finer now. But yeah, I didn't use a lot of tools, just angle grinders here with cutting discs and sandpaper discs, and then just sandpaper all different grits, just 100, 240, 40, 80 for starting out, just taking away a lot of rough material and then fining it with the 100, 240, and then I have to get a lot more sandpaper with 500 and maybe 1000 grit, but there's a lot of work to do on it. There is a lot of marks there on the top where I messed up on the cutting, but this is my first one, so I learn from my mistakes. But yeah, just with the tools, used files and bench grinder here, and then heat treating. I use this stove here installed here, and heating the blade until it was non-magnetic, and putting it in some used motor oil here. Works fine. Then I just took my time sanding away, grinding away until I got to this with some fine sandpaper and a handle with some epoxy and these are aluminium rods. I couldn't get my hands on any brass rods to make it look a lot nicer, but these will do for now for this knife. But yeah, that's basically just the tools I used, and obviously a small bench tool here. There's different drill bits for see the holes. Used an epoxy here. It's not a great one. It's a ready mixed one. It's done the job for a first knife anyway. Happy with the way the knife turned out. I made this out of, I'll show you here now, a piece of steel here, piece of angled steel. There's two sides to that. I cut off a length of that, and then I cut that in half again, which wasn't a great idea because that's where this here came from, in the corner. I probably should have put that on the blade, so it would have been filed or sanded out. It would have made it look a lot better. But yeah, I'm fairly happy with this now. There's a lot of work to do on it, but it should take me another day maybe. Just with finer sandpaper to polish this up. Get them all them scratch marks away there. Polish this up, maybe put a bit of oil on it, and should be okay then. And then planning on doing more knives. I was actually planning on doing kind of a small machete kind of a thing out of this. I've kind of it marked out there for a handle, and it wouldn't be a very thick one, it's not very thick bit of steel. And then out of this file here, I was planning on trying to make a knife out of a file. I've seen a few videos of that, like that on YouTube. I just have to stick it in the stove here, let it cool down slowly, soften it up, and shape it, grind away, get a profile, and turn it into a knife, which is a good idea, because get old files like that one there, just turn them into something like a knife, which is very useful. It's also a very good way to spend your spare time if you're interested in these sort of things, which I am. But yeah, that's the knife I made. It took me about, altogether with school, it took me about a month, maybe 2, trying to get it all fitted into time. But if you put all that time together, probably 2-3 days tops. And that's just with, say, the basic tools, with no fancy bench or belt sander, sorry. Yeah, that's my first knife I've made, and that's it.